Life never promises a smooth path. It will test you, place obstacles in your way, shake your certainty, and push you to the edge of exhaustion. Yet, in the middle of that storm, there are people who still stand tall. Their eyes remain calm, their breathing steady, their minds unmoved. They weren't born with extraordinary strength. They simply learned an art. Most have forgotten the art of mastering the mind and spirit. When the wind rises, the weak try to escape the strong, seek shelter, but the awakened become the eye of the storm, the still point within chaos. True strength isn't about suppressing life's turbulence. It lies in keeping your mind from being swept away by it. You can't stop the waves of the ocean, but you can learn to steer your inner boat. Everything life throws at you, pain, failure, fear, loss, is merely a test to see if you truly rule yourself. Pain cannot destroy you, but blind resistance to pain can drain you. Failure cannot bury you, but fear and self-doubt can paralyze you. Those who have never learned to observe their own mind are ruled by it. Those who understand it are no longer disturbed by the outer world. When you master your mind, you no longer need to try to be strong. Strength becomes your natural state. You no longer react blindly to words or actions. Emotions no longer dictate your course. Whenever life rages, you simply return to your breath, observing, smiling. Peace is no longer something to search for out there, but a state you cultivate within. This is where all great philosophies converge. Buddhism calls it mindfulness. Taoism calls it flowing with the way. Confucianism calls it self-discipline and rectifying the heart. 3 paths, 1 destination. Unshakable calm amid change. When your mind stands firm, nothing outside can make you fall. Life remains a storm, but within you, the sea is still. So the question is not, how do I avoid a storm, but how do I stand still within it? When you can answer that, you don't just survive, you begin to master life itself. In the Buddha's teaching, inner strength doesn't come from avoiding suffering, but from training the mind daily to rise above it. The human mind is like water when disturbed. It turns muddy. When left to settle, it naturally clears. The 6 Buddhist habits are the path that returns the mind to that clarity where you see yourself as you are unclouded by the noise of the world. These aren't complex rituals or distant philosophies, but simple practices that, when repeated each day, quietly transform you. You learn not merely to endure life, but to thrive in adversity, like a lotus rising from the mud, untouched by it. Each habit is a brick that builds the fortress of peace. They don't make you indifferent. They make you feel more deeply, live more fully, and stay centered amidst emotional waves. When the mind is tempered like steel, you no longer fear hardship. You understand that hardship is the forge of your growth. When these 6 habits become part of your breath, you become the center of the storm, the meeting point of stillness, strength, and wisdom. Life may be noisy, but within you there will always be silence to return to. The question is no longer, how do I avoid change, but how do I remain steady in every change? That is the spirit of applied Buddhism, not escaping the world, but living in it, without being consumed by it. So don't see these 6 habits as a checklist, but as 6 gates leading to one path, the path of mastering the mind, nurturing wisdom, and awakening the luminous essence already within you. From here, the journey begins. Not a journey outward, but a homecoming to your true self. Are you ready to listen to practice, and to turn your mind into a place of peace no storm can ever touch? Pain is not the enemy. It is merely life's messenger carrying a quiet reminder that it's time to look within. Yet most of us fear it, avoid it, and do everything we can to forget it through work, entertainment, or fleeting pleasures. We run from pain, not realizing that the more we run, the faster it chases. In Buddhist wisdom, pain isn't something to eliminate. It's something to observe and understand. When you dare to sit still with your pain, you stop being its victim and become its student, listening to life's deepest teaching. Pain has its own language, and it only speaks when you are silent enough to hear. When pain arises, instead of resisting pause, don't rush to push it away or force yourself to stay positive. Just sit, breathe, and feel. Where does it live in your body? How does your heart tighten? Is your breath shallow or deep? Observe pain as you would a passing cloud in the sky. It comes, it goes, but it is not you. Look deeply, and behind the pain you will find a truth waiting to be seen. Perhaps a lesson in letting go, a boundary to honor, or simply the reminder that you are still alive and capable of feeling. No one escapes pain, but the awakened learn to stay with it without being consumed by it. Like a monk meditating in the wind still blows, but the mind remains unmoved. When you sit with pain without reacting or judging, it begins to dissolve. Pain cannot survive under the light of awareness. The more you observe it, the weaker it becomes. The more you face it, the more it transforms. This habit doesn't teach you to fake strength, but to embody softness as strength. You learn to touch your wounds without reopening them, to open your heart instead of closing it. That's where true inner power is born, not the power of hardness, but the power of surrender and transcendence. Remember, pain doesn't come to punish you, but to teach what joy cannot. If you have the courage to stay, it will guide you home to yourself. When you stop running, pain loses its power. It becomes a teacher, not a prison. And from the moment you face it, you are no longer afraid. You realize it's not pain that breaks you, but your refusal to feel it. When you can sit calmly in the storm of your own heart, without judging, without fleeing, that is the moment you step into freedom. Most people don't truly live, they merely react. A single word, a small gesture, an unexpected event, and their mind instantly trembles. We react like machines. Someone presses the anger button. We explode. The fear button. We panic. Our emotions are pulled by the world, and we call it natural. But reaction is instinct. Response is wisdom. Between the two lies a brief pause, and in that pause, freedom is born. The Buddha taught, in all situations, the awakened one pauses before acting. The moment you stop to observe your breath becomes a bridge between the wave of emotion and the shore of peace. Whenever anger, fear, or hurt arise, do not rush to react. Take a deep breath, step back, and ask yourself, is this response coming from clarity or from an old wound? That single question is enough to bring you home, to free you from being carried away. Reaction gives power to circumstance. Response reclaims power over yourself. When insulted, the reactive person fights to prove. The responsive one seeks to understand. When hardship strikes, the reactive one blames. The responsive one observes causes and effects. The same event, two different minds, two different lives. One controlled, the other in control. Practicing this habit isn't about suppressing emotions. On the contrary, it's about seeing them clearly before they take the driver's seat. Anger, sadness, disappointment all have their place. But instead of letting them act for you, let awareness lead. Every time you pause to breathe, to observe, you are training inner strength. Imagine this: when others shout, you remain calm. When the world rushes you, walk slowly, centered. When loss comes, you don't collapse, you quietly learn from it. That is not weakness, it is mastery. To stop reacting doesn't mean to stay silent in the face of injustice or ignore what's wrong. It means choosing to respond from consciousness rather than instinct. You no longer live by emotional tides, but by the compass of wisdom and values. And in that stillness, you rediscover your greatest power, the power of freedom. Because the one who pauses amid the chaos of life is not behind. They are already one step ahead on the path of self-mastery. How you begin the morning determines how you will live the rest of the day. Those who have yet to master their minds often wake in chaos, phones buzzing messages, flooding in their thoughts, instantly consumed by noise and obligation. Before they even take their first breath, the outside world has already taken hold of them. But the awakened know that the morning is sacred time for the mind. The moment you open your eyes, your consciousness is clear and impressionable. If you plant stillness into it, you'll harvest a day of peace. If you plant hurry, you'll live a day of restlessness. Buddhism teaches the mind is like a restless monkey. If not trained, it will leap everywhere. Morning is the perfect time to tame that monkey. Before you touch the world, touch yourself first. Wake a little earlier. Turn off all devices. Let silence be the first ritual of your day. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Observe your breath. Let every inhale and exhale bring you back to the present. You don't need deep meditation, only awareness, only presence. As the mind begins to settle, ask yourself, who do I want to be today? Not what you will do, but who you will be. Calmer, more patient, more grateful. That question acts like a compass, gently guiding your actions throughout the day. You may write a few lines in a journal, a note of gratitude, a small goal, or a quiet promise to yourself. Over time, these simple rituals form the foundation of mental discipline, because the mind, like the body, weakens without training. But with consistent practice, it becomes strong, flexible, and luminous. Discipline is not restriction, it's structure, the space where true freedom lives. You may choose to meditate, read a few pages of wisdom, breathe deeply, or simply savor a cup of tea in silence. The form doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of presence. When you begin the day in peace, everything else follows its rhythm. The world may be noisy, but you are no longer carried away by its turbulence. The mind already prepared knows how to return to breath, to order, to stillness. A disciplined morning is the seed of an orderly life. And when you can master your morning, you gradually learn to master your destiny. So don't let the world speak to you first each day. Let your calm mind be the first voice you hear. One of the deepest roots of suffering lies in the illusion of control, the belief that we can bend life to our will. We try to hold on to people, outcomes, and futures, to force the river to flow our way. And when it doesn't, we grow frustrated, angry, and exhausted. But the truth is, no one can make the sun rise earlier, stop the rain, or force another soul to change. The more we cling, the heavier we become. The Buddha taught, the root of suffering is attachment, and attachment means grasping what was never truly ours. Look closely. How many times have you suffered? Not because of what happened, but because you wanted it to be different. You wanted others to understand you. You wanted outcomes to match your plans. You wanted life to obey your design. But life follows its own laws. Everything arises, stays, changes, and fades like the rhythm of breath. The moment you stop resisting that flow, your heart begins to find peace. Letting go is not indifference or neglect. It is choosing to trust the natural order of the universe, trusting that every event carries meaning, even if you cannot see it yet. The wise do not waste energy on what is beyond reach. They learn to discern what can be changed and what cannot, and they focus entirely on the first. You can control your effort, but not the result. You can control your actions, but not how others respond. Once you grasp this, an unexpected lightness fills your being, because ultimately the only thing you truly control is yourself. Letting go is not weakness. It is the quiet power of faith. Just as the river does not force its way to the ocean, it flows naturally. When you stop resisting, life opens up in the most effortless way. You begin to live in a state of surrender, doing your best, then releasing the outcome. No more, if only no more, I'll be happy when. Look at the rain, it falls freely, unafraid of getting wet, unbothered by the wind. Look at the flower, it blooms when it's time and fades when it must, without competing or clinging. That is the wisdom of letting go. And when you let go, something miraculous happens. What you once feared to lose no longer haunts you. What truly belongs to you will return in a more beautiful form. And if it doesn't, you remain at peace, because you've realized this a free mind is worth more than any outcome. Learning to let go is not learning to lose it, is learning to live lightly. Only when you release what you cannot control can you finally hold what truly matters, your own serenity. The human mind does not become clear or chaotic by accident. It reflects the environment it inhabits. You may have strong willpower, but if you live each day surrounded by noise, complaints, and negative energy, eventually you will be pulled down without realizing it. The Buddha taught, if you want to know where a person is headed, look at the community they belong to, because human energy is contagious. A single pessimistic word can drain your motivation, while a calm presence can restore your peace. That is why choosing your environment is not a matter of comfort, it is a matter of consciousness. Begin with the people around you. Who do you spend the most time with? Do they make your heart open or close? After a conversation with them, do you feel lighter or heavier? Energy never lies. Someone may not speak ill, but their tone, their sighs, or their constant complaints can quietly exhaust you. On the other hand, sitting next to a person with faith and clarity can make you want to live better. That is why the awakened do not choose company for amusement, but for alignment of values. But environment is not only people. It is also the space where you live and work. A cluttered room breeds a cluttered mind. A noisy space makes stillness difficult. In Buddhism, the term vihara monastery does not only mean a place, but a pure energy that fills every corner. When your space is clean and full of light, your mind naturally becomes clear. Each morning before you begin your work, tidy your desk, open the window, breathe deeply. This is a sacred act of purification. When the outer world shines, the inner world follows. Then there is the informational environment. Everything you read, watch, and listen to is food for the mind. If you constantly consume negativity, gossip, or judgment, your mind will become clouded. Be selective. Keep only what nourishes wisdom, peace, and growth. Remember, your digital environment is also your spiritual environment. Living with discipline does not mean isolation, it means protecting your energy. Like a gardener pruning weeds so flowers can bloom, you must learn to say no to whatever derails your mind. A space, a relationship, a habit, if it no longer serves your evolution, release it. Peace is not born from adding more, but from removing what is unnecessary. When you consciously design your surroundings, people, spaces, and information, you are building a temple within yourself. A place where no matter how chaotic the world becomes, you can close your eyes, take a breath, and return to stillness. Amid the rush of modern life, it's easy to forget who you truly are. Each day we get caught in our roles, jobs, titles, and others' expectations until we no longer know what is essence and what is mask. The Buddha said, "When the mind forgets its original face, suffering arises. For suffering does not come from circumstances, but from losing our authentic identity." The world constantly tries to define you to be more successful, more beautiful, faster, louder. But the awakened do not let the world write their story. Every morning they quietly return to themselves and ask, "Who am I when I let go of titles, possessions, and the past?" This habit is not a complex spiritual exercise, it is a ritual of remembrance. Before the world demands you to become someone, remind yourself of the person you choose to be. Look into the mirror, not to fix your hair, but to examine your eyes. Are they still clear, kind, and aligned with truth? Each morning, take a few seconds to reaffirm your core values. I am calm. I am steady. I am enough. These are not affirmations of delusion, but acts of self-alignment, resetting your inner compass before the day begins. When you forget who you are, the world will tell you, and it often tells you wrong. You'll be led by public opinion, emotions, and comparison. But when you hold firm to your essence, those voices fade into distant echoes. You know your direction, your truth. From that clarity, peace naturally arises. Nothing disturbs the mind more than living out of sync with your own nature. This practice is also a form of energetic protection. When you know who you are not shaken by praise or criticism. You act from your center, not from reaction. Every decision passes through the inner compass, a sacred space no one else can touch. Write down who you intend to become and place it where you'll see it often. Whenever fatigue or doubt arises, read it again, breathe deeply, and remember you are not yesterday's failure nor today's expectation of others. You are the awareness, observing it all calm, lucid, and free. Over time, this daily remembrance turns your mind unshakable amidst life's waves. You no longer chase or resist, you simply are. Because when you know who you truly are, the world can no longer define you, and that is the highest form of freedom. True success doesn't come from grand breakthroughs. It comes from the quiet repetition of small steps practiced daily. People often admire the results, yet overlook the invisible process that created them. The Buddha taught, drop by drop, the jar is filled. Every great transformation begins with simple, consistent, patient actions, the micro wins that accumulate over time. Each morning you meditate 5 more minutes. Each night you write 1 line of gratitude. Each time you choose calm over reaction. Those are victories. Small, yes, but together they reshape the landscape of your mind. The problem is impatience. People crave visible results, and they quit before the flower blooms. They plant today and demand fruit tomorrow. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us nothing ripens before its time. A tree cannot outgrow its own rhythm. Your task is not to force the pace, but to maintain the practice. Because it is consistency, not intensity, that builds endurance. See every good action as a seed, a word of gratitude, a single moment of stillness, 1 mindful breath, all are seeds planted in the soil of your mind. You may not see their growth today, but with steady care, one day a forest of wisdom will rise from those tiny beginnings. This habit requires faith, faith in the process, faith in cause and effect. Each time you choose rightly, even unseen, the universe takes note. Each mindful act, no matter how small, shapes your character. And slowly you realize success isn't a destination, but the sum of thousands of conscious steps. Don't wait for inspiration to act. Act to sustain inspiration. Inspiration is fire, but habit is fuel. If you depend only on fire, it fades, but if you feed it daily, it becomes eternal. Choose 1 small act, read 5 pages, walk 10 minutes, rewrite 1 positive thought, and repeat it until it becomes part of who you are. The power of micro-wins lies not in their size, but in their accumulation. Each day you win a small battle with yourself, and one morning you'll wake up as a better version of you without even noticing when the change began. Like bamboo, which grows unseen beneath the earth for years only to shoot skyward overnight. Greatness is not born from bursts of willpower, but from mindful persistence. So don't ask, when will I arrive? Ask, did I move 1 step forward today? Because when you win the small days, you build a great life, rooted, resilient, and graceful, like bamboo in the wind. These 7 habits are not separate techniques, but a complete circle of awakening. Each one is a piece of the puzzle, and when joined together, they allow you not merely to face life, but to flow with it, to master it, and to evolve through it. You learn to sit with pain instead of running from it, to see that pain is not an enemy, but a teacher. You learn to stop reacting and start responding, turning every challenge into training for equanimity. You learn to discipline your mind each morning, planting seeds of presence and awareness. You learn to release what lies beyond control, saving your energy for what truly matters. You choose a deliberate environment, trimming away toxicity and nurturing the soul with clarity. You remind yourself daily who you are, so the world cannot make you forget. And finally, you trust in the quiet power of daily micro-wins, the invisible architecture of lasting transformation. When united, these habits create a mind that cannot be shaken, not because it is harder than others, but because it no longer lets the outer world define it. Such a person no longer lives in fear or in the need to prove. They live in clarity, clear about themselves, about life, and about what is worth holding on to. Their mind is like a lamp in the wind. the flame does not go out. It flickers, then steadies again. Mastering the mind doesn't mean erasing emotions. It means knowing where to place them. Peace doesn't come from escaping the waves, but from learning to stand still within them. The one who truly masters the mind doesn't seek quiet places to hide from life. They bring quietness into life. That is the essence of spiritual strength, stillness within movement, calm amidst change. Imagine yourself as bamboo in the wind. Bamboo bends but never breaks. It yields yet stays strong. When storms come, it doesn't resist or surrender. It simply sways, then stands upright again, green and unbroken. So it is with the awakened one. They don't live to avoid the storm, but to become the bamboo. Life will continue to test you, but as you train your mind through these habits, you'll discover strength doesn't come from perfection, but from daily steadiness and awareness. No one is born unshakable. The unshakable are those who have trained one breath, one choice, one day at a time. And when your mind is at peace, nothing can bring you down. The storms still blow, yet you smile softly, because you've realized peace is not a gift from life. It is the reward of one who has mastered the self. Take a deep breath, feel the air enter, and leave slow, gentle, as if you're returning home to yourself. Everything you've just learned, the 7 habits, the 7 steps of awakening, is not theory to memorize, but breath to live by. Peace doesn't come from understanding. It comes from daily practice. Each breath is a chance to begin again. Each day is an invitation to become a little calmer, a little clearer, a little freer. Life will still test you. There will be days when nothing goes as planned, people who hurt you, and storms that strike without warning. But instead of resisting, trust that everything arrives with purpose. Trust that the universe never misplaces a lesson. Trust that you are strong enough to walk through every storm with a tranquil heart. The moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" freedom begins to unfold. Trust is not surrendering in defeat. It is choosing to stand with the flow of life, like a river unafraid of its bends, because it knows it is always moving toward the sea. Every twist, every wound, is water shaping you into the form life needs you to become. When you accept this, everything becomes lighter. No resentment, no resistance, only understanding and gratitude. And after breathing and trusting, there remains only one thing to move forward. You don't need perfection, only presence. Step by step, day by day, with awareness. Remember, enlightenment is not found by leaving the world, but by walking through it with a mind untouched by dust. Every small act, every kind choice, every conscious breath, all are expressions of the way within the world. Walk forward with humility, for you have nothing to prove. Walk forward with gratitude, for everything you meet is a teacher. Walk forward with faith, knowing that peace is not a destination, but a state you carry along the journey. And when life begins to blow with wind again, remember your breath. One deep inhale and you are home. The world outside may shift and storm, but the breath, the anchor of the present moment, will always hold you steady. So breathe deeply, trust the path, and keep walking. Because even in the darkest nights, the light still lives in the heart of the one who knows how to pause, let go, and move forward in peace.